everybody. Welcome back to Thoughtful Thursday. Today's episode is going to be a fun one, and it's going to be a little fast and free, all right? So I've got here my friend Cammie.
Hey.
Hey. I've got Daniel here.
Oh, I'm not a friend. Friend Cammie, and I've got Daniel here.
Well, there's his voice. And I have Nick.
What's up? Glad to be here.
Thank you, Nick, for an actual response.
We're workplace acquaintances.
We're office mates.
Work
best.
proximity associates.
We're still allowing Mike to host the podcast.
Yes.
For a short period of time.
Appreciate that allowance.
Yep.
So
we're
talking about something today that's different than the series that we are in, because we want to talk about that series that we're in. The Bible doesn't say that, but I think we want some more things to discuss in that. So we're doing some random one-off episodes. We're doing a series of one-off episodes.
This may be a trilogy.
It might be a trilogy, and they will be released at different times, not necessarily in sequential order.
Newsflash, the second one won't be as good as the first.
There's some movies that are. We can't get sidetracked on that.
You should write a book. The book will be better.
We can't get sidetracked
My
on
girl.
that. Yeah, you know what I like about the movie? Not reading. It's fantastic. Moving pictures. Have you seen those? They're awesome.
It takes 2 hours.
So people used to, I think Jim Gaffigan talks about this, but people used to stare at the radio. It's like, what are we watching? Why are we watching this thing? And they came on moving pictures, and nobody wanted to listen to the radio anymore. Anyways, we are doing a trilogy series, on what we call our staff DNA. Who wants to take? Was there a noise in there?
I said whoop whoop.
Oh.
Just random noises.
Daniel's throwing up. Daniel, since you're making random noises, why don't you share what? Just
I don't know.
in a sentence. Staff
Maybe you'd
DNA.
rather have your friend share.
I'm going to save her for something special.
Okay, what do you want me to share about?
I did not want this question.
What was the question?
What is, if you had to say it in a sentence or two?
Actually, could I take it?
Actually, I'll take this. One or two sentences on the subject of staff DNA. No, so I would say we were very, very intentional about looking at the culture that we had, that we felt like was healthy, and the staff culture we wanted to maintain and create, and that produced our staff DNA. So it's really about the culture that we have here at New Hope.
All right. 4 sentences. That's pretty good. You did a good job with that.
No, it was a run-on sentence.
You did throw in some ands there. I was like, that's a sentence. He's cheating.
This was really fun to come up with, because we came up with this together over a fairly decent period of time.
Yeah, I was trying to think how long that took us. I feel like it was at least 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
I don't
know.
Almost
I don't know.
every business organization has, a mission statement, values that they follow. And I remember, Mike, you coming into my office one day and kind of poking your head and be like, hey, do you know what our values are? And me going yeah. I think I listed off maybe one of them.
Because did we have some listed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
Prior to us changing them over, yeah.
Yeah, no, we did have values, but I'm not sure when those exactly were developed. I'm pretty sure that that the lead pastor before you had that they were his, that he had developed, but they were not something that we were talking about or kind of living by. So when we developed these, it was really fun to be a part of that process.
Yeah, and I think that's important, is the team being a part of it, because you want these to be things that people really do buy into. So, Daniel, you could give us a list, and we could be like, oh, that's great. Daniel really values these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're all going to struggle to live by them. And they might be really good, too.
Oh, they would be.
They'd be the best. And there'd be 40 of them. So we developed these things. Cammie, my friend Cammie, would you hold up your arts and crafts project you brought with you today?
Yes.
So if you want to zoom in on that, Mr. Editor, this is just kind of what we have hanging up. A lot of us have them hanging up in our offices. Some of us have to borrow them from friends or something like that if they lost theirs or whatever.
I think it was stolen.
I think it was too, actually. I thought it was convenient. She had two.
Mm-hmm.
Misty.
Suspicious.
We'll name drop here.
Cool thing, real quick, and just to interject this, I got a message over the weekend from Tiffany Short, our missionary in the Czech Republic, and she had me send her our staff DNA.
Oh, cool.
Because they were going to be teaching through it at a workshop or something that she was doing. I didn't pay that close attention to the message.
It's gone global.
Yeah. But that was just cool. Yeah. It had such an impact on her whenever she was here with us as an intern, and then she worked part-time for us, and she loved it, so she's taking it abroad.
Yeah. So just briefly, mission is this overarching thing that we're trying to achieve that will never fully be achieved. Like there's no end date to it until we're all dead. Vision is how it's a timeline. It's something you're doing to work towards the mission, and values is how all that feels. So like it's a kind of a code of conduct, so to speak, with how we interact with each other and how we interface with the mission and values. As we're pursuing that, this is how this needs to feel for us. I think they've been really good for us because they really give us a framework for conversations. And one of the things we'll talk about today, they specifically give us a framework for that type of conversation that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, how could this type of thing or idea be beneficial for whoever's work or their family or their life?
So let me, I'll jump in just to say, maybe shed a little bit more light on our process and the why behind it. I think early on, we had our lead pastor change, and then a year later we had our executive pastor change. So pretty significant roles within the organization. And it felt very different. Yeah.
Depends on who you
Whatever.
I've seen 5 better lead pastors and executive pastors.
It felt so. Obviously, we weren't here for the before, but it was a different team. Mm-hmm. It didn't take too long, I wouldn't say, where we all collectively realized there's something special here. I would say everyone on this team loves being a part of our staff. And as we started kind of recognizing that and talking about it, understanding that some of that just happened organically and because of the sovereignty of God, and what a beautiful thing. But also we knew in order to keep this going, we've got to be so hyper-focused and intentional about it. And as hard as we had to fight to build a healthy team culture, we're going to have to fight that much harder to keep it. Because if you are not so intentional about fighting to keep that, it will erode and slip away faster than you can imagine. And I think some of these things are, kind of speak directly to that. So for us, it was, hey, we've got something that we love. How do we build upon that? How do we keep that? How do we not take it for granted and let it slip away? So I think even in terms of your own organization or your own family, just recognizing some of those things about that are healthy, that you love, that you want to foster, build on, keep going. Maybe some things that aren't healthy that you can eliminate, but really trying to define those things that uniquely make your family, or uniquely make your organization, your team, and different from all the others. And the things that, hey, if you're going to be a part of this, I think about like, if we were going to bring in a new family member, good friends of ours, their oldest son just got married. They now have a daughter-in-law. Never had that before. So what does it mean to come into our family and be a part of our family? This is who we are. This is the culture. It takes
the guesswork out.
Yeah.
They don't have to try to figure it out.
Yeah, it's answering the question of where are we going and what is it going to look like as we go there? Mm-hmm. How are we going to get there? I love the common values, the common language that doing something like this is able to build. I think that, we can say we'll get into some of these, but even just as you say 2 words, it communicates so much more than just the couple words that you're using, and it gives you a language or a way to talk about things. And we have one that we're going to talk about today that actually all the ones that we're talking about today have been uniquely helpful for me in my relationships with people on our team. So
yeah, and some of these, we have 9 of them. We're going to talk about 3 today. We might talk about 2. We might talk about 1 because we don't really know. I don't know. We don't really know how long this conversation might take or not take. Some of these are more natural for some people than others. So the 3 we talk about today, 2 of them you might feel like, oh, that's pretty natural for me and I'm comfortable with that, and that one's a struggle. Or all 3 of these I feel pretty natural at, but the next 3 I don't. So just know that it's not like they're going to be home runs for everybody all the time, and it's just ways for us to grow and have conversations around. So if you are leading, today's conversation isn't overtly spiritual. I mean, I think in the past our episodes have been pretty based off the sermon series or whatever. It's not overtly spiritual, but I do think it's very practical and helpful, hopefully, and actually can help harvest some spirituality out of it. So if you're leading an organization, I think this is really important to set this tone. You go, well, I'm not the leader at our organization. Maybe you're leading a team within that organization. I think you can even bring this down to a micro level, and maybe you don't have this at a macro level in your organization. You can demonstrate leading in the middle by doing this on a micro level, and maybe see some progress in the organization at whole. But I think it also goes down to your own personal life, your own DNA that you want to live by and you want to filter decisions through, or as a family. So I think it's beneficial for everybody, for sure.
Yeah.
So the 3 we're going to talk about today, I'll list the 3, and then I'll define them, how we have defined them, and then I'm making this up as I go, like how we're having this
Do you want to just take one at a time so that if we don't get through?
Yeah, we can
all
do
of
that.
them?
Yeah, that's true. Let's do that. So the first one is the team.
And these are not in any order.
No order. 2 of them I do think feed into each other a little bit that we'll talk about today.
Maybe
not. I don't know. So this one secretly, I had a little bit of a hidden agenda with the team that I don't know if everybody is aware of this. There's a saying in Michigan football that is the team, the team, the team.
Oh, cool. That sounds like every other sports program in history.
And I hope Dave doesn't listen to this, or he may be off the team. He'll be like, I'm done.
I'm done with the team. So it's not every other sports team. There's a lot that aren't about the team. They say they are, but their actions prove that they might not be. Anyways, not a commentary on college sports.
Although you did make a very important distinction between saying something like a stated value and an actual real value.
Yeah.
So just because you come up with a cool, list of DNA or whatever for your organization, for your family, doesn't make it so unless you actually live this stuff out.
Yeah, they can't just be aspirational.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a good idea. We're never going to do it.
Because all those other teams are losers.
Yes, and they function improperly. So here's how we have defined the team for us. We use we language, not me language. We take the good, the bad, and the ugly as if it was ours. The team and its needs are what we focus on, not our personal wants. That is the team, how we define it.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on the team? Cammie, you've been quiet over here.
It's good stuff.
Gold. That's why she's my friend, folks.
Short and sweet, baby. Short and sweet.
I love belonging on this team, and I think that other people recognize that about us. I'm talking as a staff, and it's not that we are holding people on the outside and, they're like looking in the window and wanting in. But not everyone can work here. You know?
Yeah.
So I think that it is attractional. Is that a word?
Attractional.
Yeah.
Did you say attractional or tractional?
Attractional.
Okay.
Like,
that's a word.
Yeah. I mean, like, many people want to be on the Ohio State
they do.
University team. They
do. if they would have offered me a scholarship, I'd have played for the Ohio State University.
To get that plug in there. Anyway, being on a team is amazing. So I played basketball, and so I like being a part of a team, not like a, individual sport, whatever.
I think you hit the nail on the head with, it's not like we're trying to exclude.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we're trying to do. Essentially, we were trying to create we were trying to not create silos of I have my thing, you have your thing, you have your thing, you have your thing. Jay has his thing, Misty has his thing, Alec.
Her thing.
Misty's a girl.
Oh yeah, that's true. So it's no, this is all ours, and we need to care about it that way.
Yeah.
And so when we, even down to our language, we try not to say things like, well, I or me. Any chance we can, we use we language because it is a we.
And I think when you look at unhealthy organizations, you will see these little things slip into and become a norm, and they are so unbelievably unhealthy. And what typically happens is a group of people come together to make decisions. You might have heated debates regarding those decisions, whatever they may be. And at the end of it, a decision has to be made, right? So the leader decides this is what we're doing. You have, maybe 80% of the room that was all for it, 20% wasn't, whatever. You execute the thing. And when it goes bad, you have those little voices that go, well, I was the one saying we shouldn't have done this.
Yep.
I was the one that was against this. I said so-and-so, and it will erode at your organization, your effectiveness, the health of your team from the top down. And this is one of those things where we said, hey, look, there are going to be plenty of things that we don't all see eye to eye on. We're not 100% seeing it the same way. And we want all of those voices at the table. We want to have those conversations. But when we make a decision as a team, it is the team's decision. Mm-hmm. There are no, lone, whatever you want to call them,
wolves.
El Solo Lobos, lone wolf.
Oh, wow. So impressed. I want to be his friend so bad.
One day.
If only you were on the team.
If only you were a 3 like us.
I'm a 3-wing, right?
It's a wing.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just thinking
I'm
about
going to compete at who wants to achieve more.
This specific DNA that we have and how it could have looked at a past job that I was at where I was collecting medical bills, and they had a whiteboard, like a magnetic whiteboard, and they had everybody where they were at. So every single month was a competition, and then they would put people on that grid. And I did enjoy that, and I thrived off of it. But most people didn't. And I was just thinking, what could that have looked like if this was a value that the company I worked for had? And maybe it just looked like, hey, as a team, we want to hit this big picture goal. And how do we do that together? And how do we help each other do that versus, I don't care about anybody else in the room. And I don't necessarily want them to do any better than what they're doing because I want to outperform them.
Right.
One way that it plays out really well, I think, at our staff is, typically we're all really good at stepping in when, kids ministry has a big event and, jumping in and helping with different stuff that's happening with that, or a student ministry event, or chairs need to be set up or torn down. That isn't something that just, our facilities person takes care of. It's something that our team does together. And those are things that I really value about how that kind of looks in real life.
Yeah. I think it's just like a family. I mean, my husband and I have 4 sons, and so we've just always said, because you belong to the Short family, our last name is Short, these are the things. And, it looks different, whatever, depending on what the thing was that we were talking about. But we've always, it is something special. Like, you belong to the Short family, and so therefore we work hard and we're going to do this today or whatever it looks like. And so even 2 of our sons are married now, and just a few months ago, my oldest son and his wife, everyone was home, and we all were just kind of sitting around, and they said, hey, we have something that we want to talk to you guys about. And, all the kids were present, and they just talked through some things that ultimately it's their decision that they need to make as husband and wife, but it will affect the entire family still. And so they wanted to, let us know what was going on, that we could pray for them and things like that. So even now, even though they have their own house and, starting their own family, they're still the team. So that's just a really beautiful thing that we can do as parents in our own family.
Yeah. Like you said, there will come a moment when, Cammie, you're leading a team and you're valuing input. A lot of times people will say, well, you don't really value input because you didn't do what I said. That's like, at some point you can't do what everybody says because 3 people said 3 different things. So, you've got this person, and you're having this dialogue. Well, I think this might be a good idea. I think this might be a good idea. As the appointed leader, listen, I think this is the direction we should go. And man, I value everything you guys have said. You really helped hone this. And you were talking about this, but like, person A may go like, well, she didn't do what I said. And if it goes south, these things are tested in the public square. That's the real metal of it. When someone comes up to person A and says, Cammie did that, what that person says in the moment will tell you, do they really believe that's a value or not? And we'll get here next. A conversation might need to happen with person A to go, hey, I overheard, or this person came to me and said that you had said, I disagreed with this. I didn't think we should do it. Like, that's not the team, because when we walk out of that room, we are the team. And if you do not like the decision enough, you can deselect yourself from the team. Like, that's, if you think it's that terrible and you cannot be supportive of it. I understand that, and you can deselect. But when we leave here and when someone comes to you and goes, well, that was a flop, you go, yeah, sometimes we miss, and we're going to work to get better. It's not throwing people under the bus. It's not, having side conversations with people who are outside the team. We walk out of here united. And really, I think for us, it does get to the heart of this idea of spiritual unity. We want to be a unified group of people who really do care about each other.
Yeah. And again, I think that is recognizing what was already happening, that we had a group of people that really were all about the team. And so let's define that as part of our staff DNA. Let's define that as part of our culture. But also we need to name this as something that we value so that we protect it, because it'll slip if we don't.
Yeah. And go ahead.
I think this is something that even played out as we were, that 2 to 3 month long, or however long it actually was, that we took to really define what our staff DNA were. Like, because I am who I am, and I'll just throw stuff out there. Like, there were a lot of ideas that I threw out there that I was like, oh, I think this is a great staff DNA that we should have, that would just like, okay, we'll write it out on the paper, but that's.
Yeah. And there were a lot that I threw out. That was the same thing. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. There's still values, I think, like, man, this will be good to add to this list, but like, that's not what we came up with.
Yeah. There were 50 plus options that were thrown out there that
were all good.
They were good, but didn't make it through our filtering process. And in that, it's like, okay, I can be frustrated because my ideas weren't used, or I can go like, no, we decided this together, and this is good. And I enjoyed that entire process.
And I don't know if you remember this, I didn't want to call them staff DNA.
Yeah.
I still don't like it.
Yeah, we were going to do.
I don't remember what we were going to do.
We were going to do staff culture, and
I love
and
staff
it was
culture,
but
we were on the same team.
We were definitely split on DNA versus
Yeah.
culture, because the thing that was against culture was, all I think of is a petri dish.
Yep,
Because
I remember that.
culture.
Yeah, but that's where
specimen.
things grow.
Yeah,
But a DNA is it's what you're made up.
yeah, we know which
Thanks.
camp she was
Science,
in.
Cammie.
You and Alex been hanging out
Bill
recently?
Nye, the science guy over here.
Oh, don't
For
even.
explaining DNA to us.
You just
The first
explained
10
what
minutes of
culture
your,
was. You just explained what culture was. So
The first
I-
10 minutes
you
of your
know-
sermon
We
was
use
all
we language,
science.
Cammie?
Do you know that
We suck.
caterpillar
We're
DNA
both idiots.
has the same DNA as a butterfly?
But Mike, you mentioned this, and I know we'll get into it more, but I can think of several conversations right off the top of my head on the team where I have, we've been in a staff meeting and somebody said something, and after the staff meeting, I went in their office and I was like, "Hey, I don't even think you realize what you said, but here's what you said, and when you said that, that goes against our staff DNA of the team."
Yeah.
And these are so great to have defined, because it's so important. Again, you've got to be so proactive and work toward these. So it's not like one of those things where, hey, this is who we are. We've arrived. This is the things that we find important and we've got to fight for. And so just having something to bring into a conversation. Hey, you said this, it violates this staff DNA of ours, the team. And then, it's immediate recognition and, asking for forgiveness and we deal with it and move on. It's great.
Yeah, and it's not even like it's just not that big of a conversation.
Right,
either.
no.
It's just a simple
Yep.
like, hey, like you said, I don't know if you're aware of this.
Yeah.
You said me instead of we. Not that we're walking around going like you are never allowed to say the words I or me again.
Right.
But like the tone of the conversation and then the context of, that being said a certain way might have been able to have been said better this way. It's like, oh yeah. And that's the end.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. So that leads into our next one, maybe, unless anybody has any final thoughts on this. All right. So our next one is probably the one that I suck at the most. So I feel like for me, the team comes the most naturally. Like even in college and like preaching classes and stuff like that, it always bothered me when people would preach using you and me language as opposed to just simply saying we. So like naturally that one comes a little bit easier for me. This one is not easy for me at all. So this one we call have the crucial conversation. That's one of our DNAs or our culture pieces, if you will. Yeah, that is a weird way to say that now. I'm like, yeah, that's harder to have in a conversation.
Yeah.
Just a part of who we are.
Yeah, just a part. So this one is defined as this. Something that slows a team down more than anything else is resentment and bitterness. Don't be tempted to bury personal issues. Instead, have the crucial conversation. So this one we ripped off completely.
Oh, totally.
From
Joseph Grenny.
Yeah. So he wrote a book called Crucial Conversations, and we went through it as a staff. And I think it's probably one of my favorite leadership development conversations we've had as a staff.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was on a staff at another church before coming here. We read the book, had the same conversation, and it was very life-giving. And I still constantly need to be reminded of this.
Probably wasn't as good as ours, but
No, not nearly.
And I will link his book, and I'll also link the YouTube video.
yeah, because I think he does a
You mean
TED Talk on this.
We'll link the YouTube video.
We will.
Just kidding.
Yeah, and I think when we went through it as a staff, there was a
No, I will. It's me. I'm doing 100% of the work. I want all of you to know.
I was sitting
I'm
here
doing the
thinking,
work.
I'm not linking
Yeah,
anything.
I'm
I don't know
doing
how.
nothing.
We put out a good podcast.
We do great things. So going back to the
Yeah,
team.
go ahead.
When one of us succeed, we all do.
That's true. And I will say this, part of being on the team is anytime you can celebrate somebody else, you do that, which we're going to talk about that later too. I don't want to get so many of these are intertwined. I don't want to get ahead. So I'm going to stop talking. Go ahead.
No, I don't even remember what I was going to say.
It was great. You were on a right path.
I was. Yeah.
Something about Joseph Grenny.
Oh no, that wasn't that great. I was just going to say, when we went through this as a staff, he had spoken at the Global Leadership Summit. So there was a GLS video that we watched, but I think he's done a TED Talk on it. I mean, he's built a pretty good following.
Honestly, I think one of the best things he did was his son did some kind of experiment. Remember, and he videoed it?
Yes, it was the brownies. It was
with giving kids
brownies with salt.
Yeah, giving kids brownies with sugar and brownies with salt. And
maybe it was just salt because it was his grandma's like famous recipe, and he gave them to his friends. And he was talking about how
he set it up like, this is grandma's best.
These are grandma's recipe. They're the best brownies, and
were these little kids going to tell the truth?
Yeah, and then he asked them, did you like my grandma's famous brownie recipe? And I think almost all of them
just said yes.
Said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So honestly, that little experiment spoke so much to me.
I forgot all about that.
Now that you said it,
yeah,
I remember.
But I think there's a YouTube video of it.
It's in his Global Leadership Summit talk.
But I think you can find just that on YouTube as well.
Yeah. We'll link that video too.
So
we will.
It does not take long at all for a team where these conversations don't happen for interpersonal issues to arise.
Yep.
It takes hardly, it could happen in a day. Yep. I mean, like, let's be honest. How many times a day do I annoy you? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, actually, please don't answer that question. You mean like in the last hour or?
We need to have a crucial conversation about your new water bottle.
About your new water bottle. It's awful. So it can just take no time for there to just be a ton of dysfunction on a team.
Yeah.
And we create problems in our head that aren't problems. And then we find solutions for the problems that we've created that aren't problems. And everyone's going, why did we do that? Like, that wasn't a problem. Why are we solving that problem that's not really a problem? And you just begin to lead in very unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
Very unhealthy ways.
Well, and I think you kind of hit the first principle of crucial conversations. When conflict happens, you're either going to talk it out or act it out. There is no middle ground. When I have a problem with you, if we don't deal with it, it is going to change the way I act. And I think that's what you're addressing. If you don't deal with this stuff, it just so quickly will hurt your organization. But it's super passive aggressive stuff or maybe really aggressive stuff. It depends on your personality, but you're going to act it out somehow, some way or another if there's a conflict that's not resolved.
Yeah.
And it is so easy. I mean, just to kind of back up what you're saying, maybe I'm not saying anything new at all, but just even miscommunication to happen of, misreading somebody's tone or, what's going on even in their life affects how they communicate. And I think it could be really easy for a miscommunication, and if you do not have a crucial conversation to follow up maybe what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're picking up on, it can get out of hand.
And sometimes these are big things, and sometimes they are small things. I'll give an example that happened recently, and I'm giving this example without permission. So, and I'm giving the example because it happened at this table. All right, recently. So last week, Cammie shared something.
Oh yeah,
and we made fun of her for it. And
it doesn't sound right.
I felt terrible.
What?
And I started playing things out in my head, and I'm like, man, that was so stupid. And I'm like, I need to talk to Cammie about it. And I'm like, she doesn't care. I know she doesn't care, so I just need to move on. Like, she'd have made fun of me for the same thing.
I would have.
I know, but I'm just like, no, I just felt like that was a conversation that needed to happen. So I was like, hey, I'm sorry that was our reaction. And, I mean, you're like, no, it's fine. it just felt dismissive, and I did not want that to come across as dismissive because it wasn't dismissive. Anyways, I just felt like that little conversation needed to happen, even though if you're like, oh, please stop talking about this right now. I just felt like that conversation needed to happen, and it was fine.
It was.
You know what I mean? Maybe you need to have another conversation with me.
I'm good. I sent my email.
And I knew that would be the response, but it was like, I still felt like that needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, I'd be stewing on it.
Yes.
And then I'd be reading things into things that
That's
weren't
exactly
things
right.
at all.
Yep.
And, next time Cammie makes fun of me, because she will, I'm going, she's doing this because I said this. And, I feel so bad. And I shouldn't have. It's like, well, just talk about it. And it's the end. Mm-hmm. It was the end of it the next day. Mm-hmm. So now you have permission to make fun of me for things. And
I won't do it out of spite.
And you won't do it. I know you're not doing it out of spite.
And I was only encouraging during that moment, so I didn't feel like I had to have any conversation because you can go back and listen to it.
Listen,
I made fun of you.
I heard some eye language there.
Yeah, we made fun of her as a team. Okay,
yeah.
We were at this table.
I know you said our.
Your support felt
These were
condescending.
our thing. No,
it felt like
it wasn't our
here's
thing.
a chance to get into Amy. Who's Amy?
I don't know. She sounds hideous. Just kidding. Amy's out there. We love you. We love.
So I think, Mike, that's a great example, and thanks for sharing that. That's something so simple.
Yep.
But you're right. If you didn't have that conversation, the way your mind works and the assumptions that you make, the things that get implanted there that you will carry out whole conversations about. I mean, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. And all that could be avoided with a simple conversation. I'm going to cough.
Okay.
If you can't tell, I'm fighting a little bit of a thing, sinuses.
A little thing called COVID.
Something.
What I was going to say though is, for me personally, I feel like crucial conversations, this may be like the biggest game changer for our team. If there were any one of these, and they're all, I think, very, very important. But for me, this one's the one that I feel like I've seen the most change and maybe the most health come about because we've been more willing to have these crucial conversations. And I'll say this, I think one of the most important parts about this one, everyone had to buy into the idea that on the other side of a crucial conversation can be a healthier, better relationship.
What's the myth he talks about believing? Like, we choose to believe the lie that you can't have both.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't
A
remember how
hard
he
conversation
and a good relationship.
yeah.
Because things are just going to,
we just assume
fall apart.
If
Yeah.
I have this,
if there's
conversation.
conflict, that it has to go south. And
can we
what
switch seats next time?
Sure.
why?
No,
What am I doing?
no, you're fantastic. I hate not being able to see everybody in one.
I know. I keep feeling like I'm
I
ignoring
know.
you.
That's
and
okay.
I feel like I ignore you.
I look through whatever these are to see.
The
I thought
boom.
she was going to say, I look right through
I
Daniel.
look through you because I can't stand to look at you.
Cammie and I are good.
Yeah, we just gaze across the table.
Remember, we sat behind here so we could
Yeah,
hide our bulbous bodies.
I will gladly change spots because
Please don't make me sit across and have to look at Mike every episode. Cammie, don't
if
do
I have a
it.
chance to look smaller, I'm taking it. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the
You're on
thing.
your
Is we were sitting up here and it was like,
Yeah, Mike and I
we're
looked
already the
huge.
biggest people here.
Yeah.
We don't need to be closer to the
Yeah.
camera. But at this point, I'm okay
That
with
is-
looking bigger.
And you're doing way better than me. I just want to say in that category, I look way bigger than you look, but you look way bigger than they look.
Because all of those things are true. Like, I am bigger than they are.
I'm
You're
trying
bigger
to.
than I am.
That was a bad compliment.
You act like you did
What?
something to accomplish that.
No,
This isn't
well, I did. I
magic.
ate a lot.
This isn't magic.
What I was
Perception.
trying to say, you were making it sound like we're both like overweight and huge, and I'm trying to say
You're the one that said bulbous. I never said those words.
Oh, yeah, that was me, wasn't it? Never mind.
I never said that. I just, we're already bigger. We don't need to look even larger than they are.
Yeah.
Or are not.
The end.
The end.
Fatties.
I'll be talking to each of you later individually and apologizing for calling you fat.
So, anyways,
One of the things that I love about this DNA is
did Did you just look down to see what it was called?
DNA. Oftentimes, specifically with this one, I think of VeggieTales, and if you don't know what that is, it's a Christian cartoon show that involves vegetables and teaches Bible stories, or
sounds amazing.
It's awesome. There's an episode.
It's actually awesome, but it sounds terrible when you say it that way.
I'm singing it in my head right now.
VeggieTales.
There's an episode that's talking about gossip and rumors, and there's a rumor weed that literally starts as a seed and then grows to be, taking over the city.
That was a good episode.
And it was a really good episode. But I think about how that is so true with this. If you can have it can be. I think anytime you have a crucial conversation, it's typically not easy. It's typically embarrassing, either for yourself or for the other person, even over something simple and small. It's uncomfortable. It's not a fun thing to do. And I think that's the thing that's challenging about this this DNA is that it's not a fun thing to do. It's not, and we have other staff DNA that we'll talk about in future episodes that are really fun, and I think that everybody on our staff for the most part loves doing. But this is one that isn't fun. But if you can do it early on, before this really tiny, insignificant seed has sprouted, grown, been fed by either your coworker's mind and what happens in there or what happens in your own mind. And I think even what you shared, Mike, speaks perfectly to that. Something that probably was, for the most part, insignificant. There's also a part of it where Satan could have used that either in your mind, in Cammie's mind, in both, to create division, to create disunity. And I think being able to have the conversation when, it's early on can make a big difference. And I think, and I'm sharing something without permission, and I don't think it's anything that is a problem for me to share, but I think that this DNA has been the single best relational improvement that Jason and I have shared, because I think that we as people just think differently, we see the world differently, we process things differently. We argue like brothers, which it sometimes is really, really fun, and other times is not as much fun. And I think that this specific DNA has been the best thing for our relationship, because both of us have permission to pull the other one aside. And we have these conversations, I wouldn't say often, but we have them often enough that I'm just thankful for it, because it gives us a way to say, hey, you said this and it kind of felt like an attack, or, whatever it is, I'm just making something up. It's been so good for our relationship. And, it's a huge relationship. I mean, we worked together for 8 years in my ministry and with the students, and ever since we kind of came up with these as a staff, it totally changed how we interacted, how we saw each other, how we even valued the things that make us different.
I think that's it. This one especially creates such a humility in both people, because if I'm coming and having a crucial conversation with someone, that person also has to have humility in receiving whatever is being said. And it's not like, oh, well, you said this about me, so I'm the one that's in the right and you're the one that's in the wrong. No, we both just have that character of humility, and we're going to hear each other out and just value one another. This one very specifically, I think, creates value and humility for the team.
Totally.
And it's super important for marriage.
Yeah, so I was going to... the key characteristic of this, with all of these, but it feels like with this one, is like everyone needs to be playing by the same rules. Mm-hmm. Because if this is a value for me, but it's not for you, every time I come to you with a crucial conversation, I'm like, dude, stop. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to hear it. And I just become a nag. I just become, whatever it is. But if two people understand this is a part of how we operate, I think that naturally gives some humility and naturally knows like, oh, this is what we do. So let me put this hat on right now because I might be hearing something that I did that maybe I didn't even mean to do, but I need to be able to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in marriage and as a parent, these are really big too.
I have, like Summer and I have watched this stuff together. I've gone through it with my kids. I mean, our daughter this past year at college, hey, Dad, can you send me that link to the Crucial Conversation video? I've got to have a conversation with a friend, and I just want to brush up on that again. This one probably more than anything, there's been a lot of influence in so many other areas of my life where this has come up. And I would also say, like, as we talk about being willing to have a crucial conversation and kind of the heart behind it, there are some very practical tools that are an important part of this. And I don't want to go through all those because, find that on your own. But, we like that whole, the first 60 seconds are the most important, establishing a common goal. Just some very practical things that spell out the why this is so important and then how to actually do this. And it doesn't take that long to figure out. It's pretty awesome. And then my mind went blank.
I would say the two that kind of stick out to me is maybe like if we can share a couple is you said one, the first 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. You have one opportunity to start that conversation. How you start it in 60 seconds will dictate the rest of the conversation. If you come in guns a-blazing, you might as well walk out of the room. It's not a conversation anymore. If you can establish a tone of the conversation that first 60 seconds, it's going to have a lot higher success rate. And for us, I think in the way of Jesus especially, is it being out of a foundation of love for the other person. Yeah. Because that will dictate the first 60 seconds.
Yeah. And I think the way I think through conflict and the way, and I bring this into my view of a crucial conversation, because we are Christians, that's the lens, the worldview that we have. And in Ephesians 4 is this idea that Jesus has already torn down what Paul writes as the dividing walls of hostility that stand up between us, right? Jesus has already torn all of that down and created a bond of peace. Our job as followers of Christ is to maintain that bond of peace. So whenever I'm thinking about a crucial conversation, I'm praying through that and I'm going into it going, okay, if Cammie and I are going to have this conversation, I'm trusting that the same Holy Spirit that indwells Cammie is the same Holy Spirit that indwells me. There is already a bond of peace that Jesus has created between us. We want the same thing. So now it's a matter of just reemphasizing, reestablishing that, tearing down those walls that we've built up and finding that common ground and coming together. And again, buying into the idea that we can do that in a healthy way because of who Jesus is. And when we do that in a healthy way, our relationship is going to be better on the other side of this conversation.
Yep. Yeah, it's because we love each other so much that we're willing to do these hard things. I mean, it's...
Because if we were apathetic toward each other, I mean... Think about that.
Well, I mean, we naturally have, I don't even want to use this word, but chemistry as a team, just our personalities, whatever, we like to hang out, have fun. So there's a natural element to it. But if we also didn't work hard at these other things, then
it deteriorates.
Yeah. So I don't want people to think, well, you guys, you're the team because we are also great.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not bragging. I'm like, we just have that natural, we like to hang out with friends. We're friends, but it would go downhill real fast.
It also comes into play when you were hiring new people that are not a part of the team. Two things. One, and there's two approaches to this. Do we just look for somebody who already demonstrates these values or this DNA? And then coaching right out of the gate needs to be around this DNA. So not everybody is going, like, again, because not all of us are really good at all of these. So like nobody's going to fit the bill perfectly for all these things. But when we do have to add someone to our team, like when we added Alex to the team, this was a part of that. Like, I mean, he's, he embodies some of these things because we had a personal relationship with him. We knew that. And part of the onboarding process was like, this is who we are and this is how we operate. So it just it actually helps a new hire get their feet under them way faster.
Yeah.
I feel
I want to, like, just when you're thinking about an organization, leading an organization, I don't want what you just said, and you didn't say this, but I don't want someone to think about this wrongly and think through the lens of like groupthink. Oh, I need to hire people that agree with me all the time, because that is not the case. We disagree with each other. We
definitely do not agree with each other.
I mean, Mike, you and I have lots of debates.
I think you just like to disagree with me to debate. I think sometimes you agree with me, but you're like, I'm not agreeing with that.
Maybe. I don't know.
It keeps me sharp, though.
Can't prove it.
Keeps me sharp.
But no, we like...
I can prove it.
I feel like every fourth episode we look at each other and I say, Mom and Dad are fighting.
Don't try to have some weird connection with Cammie here. You're always looking for opportunities to be like, Cammie, I'm on your side. Whatever's happening, I'm on your side.
So
I wasn't making fun of you, Cammie.
Well,
to go back,
Cammie, I want you to know I'm on your side.
To go back to what you were saying, though, having someone that fits our culture anytime we're doing a hire, that's one of the most important things we're thinking about. Skill sets are important, but you can teach a lot of skills, right? But someone that fits within our culture is incredibly important. Again, that is not groupthink. That's not having a yes person. But every hire that we've done since coming up with this, I've sat down with them and said, I want to show you our staff DNA. This is who we are as a team. This is what we're fighting for. This is the standard of what we hold each other to. When you look at this list, if you don't think this is something that you can buy into or be a part of, this is probably not a good fit. Not that we can't continue to be friends or you can't worship it or whatever. Like none of that. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
We're saying that the environment, the culture of our team is probably not going to be a good fit for you. You will be miserable and we will be miserable. And then relationships will fall apart.
Suffer,
yeah.
And just to speak to, if you are like the point leader of your organization, you are not above this. Like,
amen.
This is why I love this, is because it keeps our feet on the ground, because at any time anybody on our team can come into our office and say, hey, you said or did this, and that violates the things that we came up with. It's like, I'm not above that.
I can think of a couple of times that Nik has come in and had one of those conversations with me, and I've really appreciated it.
Yeah.
And he's been, spot on.
So the next one, we'll talk about it quickly because I don't care how long this episode goes.
No, I thank you for that. And honestly, those times, because we are friends and also you're my boss.
Yeah.
It is so terrifying to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think that we, just like we did maybe with our parents, I think that we have this false idea of who those in authority over us are. And I'm sure that people, that are in the ministries that we're in think higher of us than they should, and so on down. And so our DNA have been able to give me the boldness and the courage to say things that I never, ever would have said. Because even though I can be argumentative and will debate about stuff, and I have my Enneagram Wing 8 that will come out at times, I was raised to respect authority and you keep your mouth shut. And so
somewhere along the line, we've made the idea that in order to respect authority, I can't ever have a difficult conversation with authority.
Correct.
And that's not respectful, actually. Like the respectful thing to, and I'm saying the respectful thing to do is to respectfully have a conversation. That's a human thing that should happen. Right. But because I fall into your camp of that has historically been difficult for me. And when it has happened, I have had it go really bad. And I've also had it go good for me and it be a life-giving experience to kind of go, hey, this happened. I know you're my boss, but this really made me feel this way. And for that person to go, wow, yeah, I see why you would think that. I'm really sorry. And in another instance, basically go, yeah, shut up. I don't care what you think. Like in that first 60 seconds, that changes our relationship drastically. So, I appreciate the value of because there are people in authority over me that I do respect. And I think respecting those people who are putting authority over us are a good thing, but reframing of this is actually a respectful thing to do. Because I need to
absolutely.
know what you think.
And that's it's so, I think it has so many different levels to it. In this specific scenario, because I'm like, okay, I'm talking to my boss, I'm talking to my friend, I'm talking to, somebody that I enjoy, going out on date nights with, not
with
as
just him or?
1-to-1. Sometimes, but I'm also talking to a brother in Christ, and so there's I feel like for me, I'm trying to break through all those layers.
Yeah.
When I feel like that of, okay, if I can get through this layer, can I even get through that layer? Because it's not fun. Yeah. Again, this one specifically is not fun. It's not easy.
For any of you, does this one come more naturally than the others?
I just raised my hand on audio podcast.
For listening only.
For our listening audience.
That was Daniel that raised his hand.
I see that hand.
I see that hand.
Yeah,
Lord,
I think
Lord sees your heart.
This one comes naturally. It's not that I like conflict. I don't. I have, however, been put in positions, I think, my entire working life to be a part of conflict resolution. And I don't know. Honestly, I think it's probably more of just a God thing. It's not something that I particularly enjoy doing, but I am no longer afraid of it.
Yeah, it absolutely terrifies me.
I think for us,
and not just talking to someone in authority, like anybody. I do not. This is absolutely not what I enjoy going to.
I think for me and my friend Cammie here, we are both a 3 on the Enneagram.
Who's trying hard? You've been harassing me for trying hard. You're over here doing subliminal
messages. A part of the downfall of a 3 is that we want people to like us.
Yeah.
So I choose to often believe the lie. If I have this conversation with this person, they will not like me anymore. And I want to win them over, and I want them to think I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I'm going to keep going with the little lie I'm living so that they just think everything's great, and I'm great. So the next one comes in under the umbrella of this one, I feel like. It's called 5% living. There are times we will want to discuss 95% of what is happening and then hide the last 5%. Always give the last 5%. Be honest and transparent in everything we do. Nobody should wonder if they are getting the entire picture, but should know they are getting the real and full us. I had this practically play out for me a couple weeks ago. I was having a crucial conversation with someone outside of our organization. I explained to them, I actually have it up in my office. I was sitting, I said, one thing we do here is have the crucial conversation, which we're in the middle of right now. And you've shared with me this. I feel like you're sharing 95% of everything, and there's a 5% you're holding back. Is there 5% you're holding back? When put on the spot, the answer was, yeah, there is. All right, we'll share the last 5%, just giving that permission. And again, that comes back to the crucial conversation. I feel like that is part of the crucial conversation, is sharing that thing that we don't really want to share. So 2 things with this. I feel like there's the organizational version of ourselves, and then there's the personal life. So I actually feel stronger in sharing the last 5% in my own personal life, but not so in. I don't want to say organizational life, because so much of my personal life is you guys as well. But like, I have no problem sharing the last 5% of the terrible parts of myself.
Yeah,
like I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable going like, here's where I am weak. Here's where I have screwed up. I'm not necessarily comfortable having this under the umbrella of the crucial conversation, if that makes sense. Maybe that doesn't make sense, but
I think I know what you're saying. But now,
can I talk to you about where I'm at with this, and it might refine it or help define it a little bit more. I feel like I'm the opposite.
Okay.
And I feel like my last 5% is not anything that necessarily is me and my own brokenness. I'm a pretty open book, I feel like, for the most part. And I feel like I find this way easier to do here at New Hope with you guys and with volunteer teams than I do in my personal life, like with family and close friends. So I feel like I'm almost the opposite. I don't have any problem sharing the last 5% of I'm struggling right now, I'm hurting right now. I feel like my last 5% are my personal feelings about a person.
100%. That's what I'm trying to say.
Because
you got it.
And again, I will just say this, and Jay, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I don't think he listens, maybe. So hopefully he won't hear it. But every single time we've had a crucial conversation, the last 5% is a part of that. Yeah. Like it is, and it's verbally said. It's, hey, I just got to show where I'm at, and I want to give you the last 5%. Or, hey, I feel like there's been some things communicated maybe that you haven't intended to, but I kind of feel like there's maybe a last 5% here that maybe you're holding back. Is there, and sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. And I feel like I'm good with doing it here. I struggle more in my personal life, maybe even specifically with, my wife, and not with my kids, though. I'll
give them all the percents.
But that's where, that's where I really struggle, is my own personal, that rumor weed feeling, where you just let something grow from a seed into something bigger because you're not willing to just be that last 5% honest.
I think you come up on a topic that goes into a question Cammie actually provided for us, because I was struggling to come up with questions for this. Has our staff DNA flowed into your personal life? And if so, how?
It 100% has.
Is that the last 5%?
No, it
95% has, or 100% has?
It the last 5% has gotten me to 100. No, the staff DNA, and another part of it is, Minda has volunteered here before I was here at New Hope, and now she is helping out with our youth team in that leadership position. But this has been something that we've talked about since we've developed them. And even during development, it was something we talked about because it was something that was so exciting for me. And so we use this language even within the context of our marriage. I still think it's more difficult for me to use these with her than it is with the staff.
Yeah, it definitely has flowed into my personal life. And I often forget, or I'm quickly reminded of like, oh yeah, they don't operate off the same values that I am. Like, the people that I work with, this is a common document for us. So it's easy to point to, it's easy to go to, it's easy to hold accountability based off of. The random person I'm having maybe a conflict with, I'm like, they don't give a crap, what these things say. I really value these things because like we do them so much. So then it's like, then I get into but at least it puts me in mode of thinking by their actions, what is it that they do value? Yeah. And can I have a conversation based off of maybe what I assume that they value?
Yeah, but I think your example earlier of, hey, at work, we do this thing. This is how we operate. feel like there's something you're holding back. You're not giving me 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great example of.
Yeah, sometimes it works out, and
sometimes.
if you're having a neutral, calm conversation, but in the heat of a moment or something, sometimes it doesn't necessarily go the way I think, oh, this would have gone differently with my friends at work.
The Crucial Conversations video is by far and away my most used resource, quote unquote, that I give people.
Mm-hmm.
But I have found most of our staff DNA I've used in counseling other people, talking with other people, investing in other people.
And I just want to, on the 5% living, just to bring some clarity as to why. I remember when we talked about this, those things that we throw up on the board that are really important to us, but, they didn't make the final list or we reworded them. I think all of us really, really value and think of ourselves as authentic leaders. So authenticity was something that was something that we felt like was really important to define who we are as a team, as a culture, who we want to be as pastors, leaders, whatever the case may be. Transparency, another word for that. But what we talked about is it's really at our level, it can be easy to fake those things. I can be really authentic and transparent 95% of the way, right? And I mean, that's kind of in the definition. But I can tell you about something, and you can be sitting on the other side of the table going, man, Daniel's really opening up. He's really sharing with me something that's deep and personal. And meanwhile, that one thing that I really don't want you to know about, I'm keeping it over here tucked away. And that's the 5%. So we stayed away from authenticity, transparency, and we went with 5% living because we know that's where the real hard work is. That's where the real vulnerability is. If we can tackle that, then we're going to be better for it. I also think out of all of our DNA, I think this is the hardest one, personally.
I think that it has given us permission to, sometimes I do think I am being authentic, and I am. I'm not on purpose. I'm not sharing everything, but then it does make me acknowledge, oh wait, actually there is another 5% that maybe I wasn't even aware of, or but it also gives me permission because sometimes I just think I'm too much. And to share that extra 5% is just too much. Like they don't want to hear it, blah, blah, blah. And usually I have to do it in writing because that's just where that's where my 5% comes out even for myself. I'm like, I'll start writing. I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know this was all here, but here it is. And so they make fun because once in a while they get an email from me.
It's not a making fun. It's just acknowledging, like, I'll say something like, I wonder if I'm going to get an email tomorrow or tonight at like midnight.
And it's also, not bad stuff.
No, it's not.
It's just, it's my way of processing.
Yes.
If you want to go to 110%, take a van ride.
We talked about this. This is something to share or not. Cammie, would you like to share?
I know it's gotten so blown up out of proportion that I don't even remember exactly. But years ago, we were in the middle of a building project, the kids' campus, and Daniel, Misty, and I went to Fort Wayne to look at maybe another church. I don't even know. Yeah. So we had him, captured in a minivan. He couldn't get out.
I dodged that bullet.
Bound and gagged.
Yeah. He's got zip ties around his
thrown into the back.
It was an hour of crucial conversations, 5% living, all the thing, and he could not get out. It was 2 against 1.
I just kept humming the theme song to VeggieTales in my head.
It's like, how was that trip? He's like, You still see the PTSD
that was also
in your eyes.
That was, I think, in my first 6 months of working here.
Every time we go somewhere as a group, a couple people have minivans, and it's like, oh, we'll take the van. And Daniel's like,
he has PTSD.
I'll drive separate.
You know what? I think I might walk. It's 13 miles away. Yeah, I'll get there.
Or sometimes we're just like, we need to go for a van ride. Yeah. Like, get in my van.
Get in the van.
I feel like
candy.
Was 5% one of the first ones that we really decided on.
I don't remember.
I have no idea.
I don't know if it was. I feel like it was pretty early in the process for that one. I'm trying to just look through our other ones real quick.
I felt like the team was high up there.
The team was high
that
up
one's
there.
pretty foundational.
But I remember even using this one. There was one specific value that like I really felt passionate about. And I felt like I had permission because of this one to say, I really feel like this should be one of our values. And I'm just going to say, I remember it very vividly.
I can't remember what it was. It was really dumb.
We were in the coffee shop.
Terrible.
We were in the coffee shop, and I was just like, and if this doesn't make it, like, I'm going to be frustrated. But, like, I just needed to be able to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I didn't say it, I know I would have stewed on it. And even though as a team we agreed, no, this wasn't going up. And I think even
is it on the list?
No, it's not on the list. Okay. And I don't even remember what it was now.
It was so important that I don't know what it was.
That's funny.
But that's where I felt like because of this value, I was able to tell you guys that, like, I'm frustrated that no one cares about this value that I feel like we should care about. And it bothers me. And I was able to say that. And I think because I was able to say that, I can now today not care and not remember what it was. Yeah, I think if I hadn't said it, I probably would have it written down or written on the side here. I would have said, "Jay,
you would have a 10th DNA.
Send me that file. I'm making my own,
editing it."
Like seriously, and as silly as that is, like it's made it so that I can say, "Yes, we decided on these." Not, yeah, there's one that's missing.
I think what you described as an unhealthy thing is actually a healthy thing. So you made a statement. I don't want to appear too much.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's only certain people that get the last 5%.
Oh, definitely.
And that's a safe, healthy practice. I think we all know those people who just run around sharing only the last 5% with total strangers, and you're like, dude, stop. And you're like, I can't figure out why I don't have any friends. I'm so authentic with everybody. It's like, you're scaring people. Like, you can't just run around scaring people.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot of discernment there.
Yeah. So, like, share the last 5%, but
with
not everybody
team.
gets that.
Share the last 5% with the team.
Not everybody gets the last 5%.
Yes.
So,
but I think even within that, though, there are times where the team doesn't need specific last 5%. Yeah. That's between Nick and Jason.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jason won't know because he doesn't listen.
No.
I meant to the podcast, not like in general.
I don't think my wife listens to the podcast either.
My wife started listening as soon as we started making fun of her.
She's fantastic. Who would make fun of her?
Well, you and Nick did.
No, you did.
No.
Don't you throw us under a bus.
No.
Nick defended her honor. That's what he does.
I did defend her. I did.
I don't even remember what it was now.
Oh, my goodness.
I was just talking about how I let you guys know 15 minutes, or I give you guys a different time.
Yeah, you were talking about her always being late. That's what it was.
I did not bring up Summer being late. I said, I love you guys, but it's funny because Minda and I went back and, I told you guys this already, but Minda and I had a funny conversation on the way to New York because I was like, oh, do you want to listen to a podcast or something? And she was like, well, we could listen to, the New Hope. And I was like, well, I definitely don't want to do that, but okay. Who wants to listen to themselves speak? It's the worst, guys.
It's
the worst.
And I was like,
listen to any of them.
What episode are you on? And she goes,
001.
I've never actually listened to it. And I was like, cool. The one thing I actually put out is the online pastor, and you don't even listen. So then we listened to a few episodes, and then I turned it off after she fell asleep.
That was probably my fault.
But that's what she does.
Yeah, you lulled her to sleep.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
No, genuinely though, she does sleep a lot on road trips.
Keep going, please.
Minda, we think you're great. I support you.
It was really fun watching someone live listen to something, something that I love and that I care about and have enjoyed doing, and to see her laugh at stuff or like be excited about what somebody shared or be interested or like, oh man, I never thought about that. And it was really fun to listen to that with her and get some, I'm like, I just want you to be real with me.
Last 5%.
And I learned some things. So I'm trying to be better for our listeners. There's a couple catchphrases I have, which let's just not say what they are, because if you do, that's all you'll hear. But I'm trying to be better.
I don't know.
I'm trying to be better. Trying to be better.
I see what you did there. Took me a second. I'm a little slow.
Oh, Cam.
So we have some more questions here, but we're already over
we're
an hour or something, which I don't care. And I will say this, if nobody listens, I said this after the last episode, I really have fun doing this and really look forward to it. And I always say, even if nobody was listening, I would still just enjoy doing it. But I will say this. I know there's one person who has listened to every episode, and he is a friend of the show. He's a dear, sweet man. And I told him, I said, you might get a shout-out. So
is it Andy?
Here's a shout-out. What?
Oh, wow. Stole your thunder.
All that build up.
Gosh. Wow. Andy Skiles, we love you.
Thanks, Andy.
We
Thanks,
do.
Andy.
I love him
Hey,
so
do
much.
the yay
You misheard
stuff.
me. I said, is it handyman? Is it that handyman that listens?
So
it goes on for a long time. You gotta.
Well, he deserves
You
it.
can also fade it out.
I don't want to.
Remember to fade out.
I want him to get an extended cheer. In fact,
When are you taking back over?
That's for
Andy
you, Andy.
Skiles to get 2 extended cheers.
Andy.
Don't write down a note to edit something here. I know what you're doing.
See
No,
you.
I'm gonna add some fun stuff for Andy.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, Andy, thanks for listening, watching, whatever you do. Maybe you don't and you're lying to us. And we appreciate the fact that you want to lie to us to make us feel good.
Now we'll know if he does.
Yeah, now we will know.
I'll be asking him some
We
specific
should have a
questions
crucial conversation with him.
Yeah.
Do you really listen?
Episode 8, what's it on?
Yeah, there's going to be
What's
a
it on?
quiz on this episode. I don't. Did anybody have a unofficial sponsor? Or can Andy be our unofficial sponsor? You have one.
I actually have one.
Okay.
I was thinking about
It
this.
doesn't feel like a person should be able to be an unofficial sponsor, but
He is a brand. Andy Skiles is
Andy
a brand.
Skiles.
He's the whole vibe.
he does have a cool hat.
He does have
He does.
a cool hat.
So this past weekend over Father's Day, I went to upstate New York to visit my younger brother, and we hung out for the weekend. Min and the girls went with us, and we had a blast. We went to Niagara Falls, been there. I think it was both Garrett and I's 4th trip there, but it was both of our first times going on the Maid of the Mist. We all went on it, and which I didn't really realize this, I guess, and I don't know. I'm just dumb, which is no surprise to anybody, but the Maid of the Mist is just run by the park. So it's, Niagara Falls
we all knew
State
that.
Park. I just thought it was some private boat company.
I would have thought it was a private company too.
So
I never thought about it or cared.
well,
Where did they get those umbrella hats?
well, I was thinking about it just because, it's been in the office, it's been in a few other things, but I'm like, how do you go on it? Do you just got to buy tickets online? And my brother's like, oh no, they just do,
Are we getting somewhere with this?
No, I want to know because I might visit there soon. So yes, how do I get on this boat?
We're talking about it too.
You show up and pay for it. That's it.
Okay.
But you just get in a giant line.
Thought?
It was awesome. And I do not like doing touristy things, but it was a blast. In fact, we got on there first, one of their 2 electric boats, which because it how they built it and stuff, it isn't dependent on motors being in any specific area. They're actually the jets or propulsion is all around the outside. So it was totally quiet, silent. You couldn't hear an engine, feel an engine. And, we parked up to the side. It just pulled straight off, went down, see one of the waterfalls, just did a 360 right there. Just it felt like I was in space or what I assume feeling like moving in space.
Have you been to space too? Is that a Parks Department thing? You get in a line for that?
Can we put a link up for that?
Space Force, Mike. Do you even know anything? I was trying to curb my enthusiasm because how exciting can it be? It is worth every penny, and I didn't feel like it was that expensive to do.
So
for
two
what
legit questions, not making fun of you questions.
Too legit to quit.
How long did you wait in line, and how much did it cost?
So once we got in line, you walked to like an observation deck, went down an elevator, got in a line, and got a poncho, and then you waited for the bus. So there was kind of like different
stages. Did you get to keep the poncho?
You did get to keep the poncho.
That's a game changer.
It was included in the price. I think a total, if you're talking actual standing waiting, I think probably 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Now, I will say there was a lot of line area. As someone who's used to standing in lines like at amusement parks and stuff, there was a lot more line in area that could have been used for people to wait. So I don't think it was like their busiest day or anything like that, but
yeah, 15 minutes isn't bad at all.
We got our ponchos on and got in the line to get on the boat. They emptied the boat and we got on the boat. So, I mean, it was just waiting. The only thing we truly waited for was to get on the elevator. We walked through this thing where they just hand you a poncho, and we waited for the boat to disembark, and then we got on the boat.
And what was the cost per person?
So it was $25 for adults and $15 for kids.
It's not bad.
Which I didn't think was bad.
How long
for
did this boat ride last?
It was a little over 15 minutes.
Okay.
No Groupons?
I didn't look them up. Should have probably. But it was Niagara Falls, if you've never been, I mean, pictures are incredible. It's just hard to describe how big it is and how overwhelming the sound of just the water, just the river. Like, we walked over the river to go look at the falls because there's an island called Goat Island, which is where you should park if you go there. There's multiple places to park, but you should park at Goat Island, and then you can walk over Niagara River.
Is it an island with goats?
I hope so. We didn't see any.
Did you say Go Island or
Goat?
Goat?
G-O-A-T.
Oh,
like the greatest of all time islands.
Goat Island.
Tom Brady lived there.
Just the power
Yeah.
of the river running in the rapids is overwhelming just by itself.
I've been there probably 4 or 5 times, and I've seen it from the Canadian side and the U.S. side. I didn't value it when I went because it was like on our way to church camp, we would just stop for a day. But we've actually been talking about going to. When are you guys going?
Maybe over July 4th weekend.
Oh, okay.
It's our anniversary.
I will say,
just you and Dave.
I've always
the boys going too.
Just us.
So this isn't like hey, we'll go with you thing. Or you want an anniversary time? I mean, we could have something that Nick doesn't have.
You know, my parents went there for their anniversary, and they have that typical picture of them in a wooden barrel going over the falls.
Yes.
Oh my God.
please get
a picture.
Please
Get a picture.
I would assume that the Canadian side would be better just because
it is.
We have protected our side, and it's all, other than the observation tower, it's all wooded, like, and rails. So it's, if you look over the Canadian side, there's a casino and hotels, and it's very ugly to look at.
Yeah, but it's better to look from.
I would guess that being at Canada would be a much better view.
Yeah, it is.
Because, we're better. I'd want to look over at us too.
Please refrain from whatever it is you're wanting to say at this
and
moment.
that concludes today's episode.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you know what time it is. That's from another show I watched. Sorry. It's like ingrained in my brain.
Well, the next unofficial sponsor will be America.
America. July 4th is coming.
The reason I think it's better is because you get to look at America. That's why it's better. It's because it's a prettier view.
If we have any Canadian listeners,
yes, we do love you. Jesus died for you too.
Beautiful place. It actually is a beautiful place.
Oh yeah.
No, it absolutely is.
But yeah. Anyways, that took a weird turn.
Yeah. So Niagara Falls and Made of the Mist, our unofficial official sponsor,
and Andy Skiles.
And thank you, Andy. I'll probably put him in a barrel going off the falls.
He is American. Andy is American.
Andy is American.
I should have started that with, is it the Maid of the Mist? Sorry about that, by the way.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in on another maybe not so thoughtful Thursday. Just a random Thursday.
It's thoughtless.
We look forward to hanging out with you some more. All right. Thanks.